Hello everybody, it's Tidy1 here. In today's video, we're going to talk about some games today. Game topic I'm going to talk about today is going to be, I did NetherRealm Studios NetherRealm Studios Dream rosters for fighting games, stuff like that. So I did do a Mortal Kombat 12 one. I did a Marvel versus Mortal Kombat 1, a DC versus Mortal Kombat 1, and I also did a Marvel versus DC before I did those three. So, what I was going to talk about is some things with all those, and also want to talk about some things with Mortal Kombat 12 and some other things. So, here's the thing. We're getting a Mortal Kombat 12 for sure. We are also getting a Mortal Kombat Collection arcade pack of 1s, 2s, and 3s old original games. But I heard that there's supposed to be an online system mode on there, which is going to be interesting. Now, how soon is that one coming out? From what I was reading on, pretty soon. Not sure what release date was, but they said it was pretty soon. So we're getting both of those, and I was also reading up on some stuff on a little bit of stuff on a Marvel vs. DC one. A lot of people were talking about, how Ed Boon can get, Marvel and stuff like that to do fighting games with characters do fighting games with these franchises like DC or Mortal Kombat. Well, during that interview, which was last year, he had that interview with that one guy and said he's talked to Marvel, he's talked to them about this, but he did specifically say he can't talk about it. So, and he specifically said he would like to make a Marvel game or a Marvel vs. DC game. Now, I know a lot of people are throwing out issues with rights and stuff like that. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people probably had the same opinion about the Capcom versus Marvel games too, when they did crossover platform games with those. So I think anything's possible at this point. It's really just waiting to hear sources and who's saying them and if they're right. He has kind of teased us, and he has kind of got us thinking, okay, what if because a lot of people are saying Mortal Kombat's more of a gory type universe where you tear people's arms off, blood, gore everywhere. Well, when it comes to Marvel, which is owned by Disney, people don't want to see that. They don't want to see Spider-Man or anybody getting their head torn off or anything like that. But my next idea is that either they're going to do a Marvel game or a Marvel vs. DC. Because when you're doing those, there's not really going to be any blood in those. I mean, for instance, I did say this in one of my videos. Look at the Injustice games. There was hardly any blood in those, especially in 1 and 2. I mean, I can definitely see how Marvel and DC can kind of collab or look at a similarity towards Injustice 2 and how it was, because I can definitely see the gameplay of Marvel vs. DC kind of looking like how Injustice 2 and maybe how Mortal Kombat X was. Because if you remember how Mortal Kombat X was, you notice it wasn't as fast paced. It was more on this. I feel like it was on the study side. I'm trying to think of how that gameplay is, because it's not necessarily fast, but it's It's almost like it's time. It's almost like a timing type, but I can't come up with anything in that. If you guys have an idea what I'm talking about, comment section below and stuff. Because like, if we're talking about fast pace games like Street Fighter, for instance, or how Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Fighter Z is, those are like take off flight games. I don't know if we'll get anything like that because I don't think they want to do anything with like I don't think no one wants to do anything with like like Capcom wise like they've done because everybody was disappointed with Marvel vs. Capcom Infight because a lot of people were disappointed with that and how that was and so on. So, and I know they're not going to want to. I know NetherRealm Studios isn't going to make a mistake like that, like they did. So, obviously, they're going to want to do way better. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, to ask like, what is NetherRealm Studios doing? Like, what are they making? I can see NetherRealm Studios doing, Mortal Kombat game, maybe a Marvel game, maybe a Marvel vs. DC. But a lot of people are kind of, maybe a Marvel vs. Mortal Kombat, but a lot of people are like, but if they did a Marvel vs. Mortal Kombat game, I can see it kind of going like the Injustice 2 route or maybe like Soul Calibur. Because remember, Soul Calibur isn't too gory and bloody either. Unless I haven't really played any of the newer ones and stuff, but I have played some of the older ones and stuff. And if you remember some of the older ones, they weren't really as gory. But like, I can see them kind of looking in that similarity there. But we'll just have to wait and see. But on DC Comic, on the other hand, we've seen them do a DC Comic versus Mortal Kombat game back for the 360, and they also backwards compatible it for the One. Same with Mortal Kombat 9. My thing is, about a lot of people, when they did Mortal Kombat versus DC, a lot of people were mad about that game because there was no gore, all that type of thing. Well, a lot of people were actually kind of fine with that because, a lot of people like the gameplay, which I'm one of those. I don't mind gore either. I'm cool. I like gore. I like things getting that thing like that. That's fun. But when you're making a fighting game, especially when you're wanting to be clean about it and try to make it worthwhile, I can understand they don't want to take the gruesome route. But if you remember in DC vs. Mortal Kombat, so the blood, when their health was like really low, if you looked at their clothes were like ripped. They had like cuts and slashes all over the place. They can definitely do a damage deal like that for a Marvel vs. DC game or a Marvel vs. Mortal Kombat 1. But I know a lot of people don't like it like that. So I think my next question to that is probably going to be a Marvel vs. DC. I think that would probably be the best route. And 2, I don't think it's going to be near as, how you want to say, bad. Yes, it's going to be a cash grab. But when you got games like Mortal Kombat and Marvel vs. DC, those two types of franchises, I think those franchises will hit those two games will be interesting. And 2, I can see NetherRealm Studios, which is owned by Warner Brothers. We've seen them do crossovers and guest characters before in their games. Like, for instance, we've seen Hellboy, all those types of cool characters. Spawn, Joker, and all those Joker and things. I could see for a Marvel vs. DC game, I can see them, adding some Mortal Kombat characters to that game as guest characters. I could definitely see that. Now, how many characters could we receive? That's an honestly good question. If I was to add, some Marvel vs. DC some Marvel vs. Mortal Kombat characters, I would add, if it was me, I'd add quite a bit of characters, but I don't know. I don't think they'll do it that way, but I can honestly see like between 6 to 8 Mortal Kombat characters coming to Mortal Kombat. If they decide to do that, that's my honest close choice. Not just close choice, but but that's how many I could see coming in here. And I think those characters they would probably put would be characters like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao. Obviously would be on there. Baraka would be interesting. And then adding characters like either Katana or... So it's it's kind of interesting, like how to think of this. I can actually see a total of 10 actually popping on here. That way, there's actually so we can obviously have characters like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Liu Kang, Kung Lao. I can see Johnny Cage being on here, Sonya Blade, Katana, Baraka. Trying to think, guys. Maybe Cabal. I think Cabal will be interesting. That's about the only ones I can see, and I put on there, Katana and Sonya Blade, because those two female characters I know have pretty good popular characters. Yeah, I can see, like I said, Katana and Sonya Blade both being on here because I feel like those are like the two female popular Mortal Kombat characters for this game. I think next one I could see pop on here is probably like Melina. I think would be another sophisticated choice, especially for characters. But I guess we'll see what they do with a thing like that. Honestly, I can also see a pretty good. I can see something like this going. I mean, we'll have to wait and see whenever a new link or tease comes pretty soon about what we could be getting this year. Obviously, things are kind of like too soon and not quite ready to leave yet, which is probably one or two things. It's either one, they're not ready to release anything due to making sure everything is good, not rushing everything. Licensing issues could also be a deal too in there. But we'll just see what they got going on for us. Because if we're getting a Marvel vs. DC game, that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting, and I think we've all wanted to see a game like that. A game where it's like, who would win? So, post a comment section below and tell me what you guys all think. Do you guys want a Marvel vs. DC game? Marvel vs. Mortal Kombat? DC vs. Mortal Kombat? Which would you guys think they should go with? Obviously, we're getting Mortal Kombat 12 for sure. It's on the way. It's just we're not really too sure when the release date's coming, but it is on the way. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as always. I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.